Hi people, welcome to What's Popping. What's Popping focuses on the latest American pop news that piques your interest. Today, if it's Wednesday, December 11th, we have a new film called A Complete Unknown on the horizon, and it's played by Timothée Chalamet. We have an article today from Variety called Timothée Chalamet pre-recorded Bob Dylan vocals for A Complete Unknown, but James Mangold ditched them after hearing him sing live. Now let's get into the article. Yes, Timothée Chalamet pre-recorded his vocals to play Bob Dylan in James Mangold's new film, A Complete Unknown, but he also sang live. Mangold decided he was going to go with the live performance after being blown away by the actor's performance. Mangold is no stranger to his actors singing live. Joaquin Phoenix did it for Walk the Line playing Johnny Cash. In A Complete Unknown, Chalamet portrays a young Dylan who arrives in New York in 1961 and rapidly ascends through the folk scene. The film takes place from 1961 to 1965 when Dylan goes electric. It's not a typical biopic, as Mangold puts it, because the story isn't anchored in Dylan's birth and life story. Rather, the film focuses on Dylan and the folk scene in New York back then. Mangold told audiences at the WGA during a post-screening in Beverly Hills on Friday night, the other benefit was that in between 1961 and 1965, he wrote all the songs heard in this movie, and the guy was not even 24 where this movie ends. This is only a tenth of the songs he wrote in that period. Every song was pre-recorded as a precaution and to have a logistical backup. Audiences can hear those tracks on the forthcoming soundtrack because we didn't use them during the movie. The film took 5 years to get going due to COVID and the labor union strikes, but that stoppage worked to Mangold's advantage. He said the actors, particularly Chalamet, spent time honing their crafts, perfecting their singing, and getting acquainted with their instruments. Mangold was grateful for that, stating, "There are all those downsides that come with playback." Filming finally began in early 2024, and Mangold wasn't sure if he would still use live recordings all the way through. One of the first scenes he filmed was the moment with Dylan and Woody Guthrie, played by Scoot McNairy. "We shot that in the first 5 or 6 days," Mangold said. And then there was a whole backstage thing with Timmy saying, "I want to try it live." Admittedly, Mangold said some of the sound and music direction people were like, "It's not a good idea." But Mangold didn't want to hold anybody back, particularly Chalamet. So they went for it, and he was phenomenal. Not only that, he proved the brilliance of the method. Mangold continued, "There's this moment where he finishes that song and he holds a note and just keeps hitting the low string on the guitar over and over again, and his eyes are kind of boring into Woody, and he's just holding his note, and it gave him chills." How did Mangold feel about that? "I remember sitting there 8 feet from him," he said, as he did it, and I remember thinking, holy shit, that could not have happened if there was an earwig in his ear. With Mangold wearing multiple hats as a director and producer, he wasn't sure if they will still continue doing the live performances throughout the entire shoot, so he didn't make any promises. However, as they continued, he said, "We just kept doubling down until we made our way through the whole movie." And how did they pull it off? The sound team strategically placed a selection of mics to capture the performance. Sound mixer Todd Maitland had to find a way to mic Chalamet, particularly during the acoustic parts of the movie. Dylan held his guitar high, and there was no way to wire him in the typical fashion. Speaking with Variety, Maitland said, "I talked to Timmy early on, and I said, the only way that we're going to be able to do this is if I can wire you and your hair." And the microphone would then come off of his forehead and go right down past his mouth, right into the guitar. Other times, the sound team used 40 different practical microphones that were period correct. Maitland explained, "The idea was to get a little bit different sound in each and every different venue by using practical microphones from the period. That helped create a nice tapestry of sounds." The most challenging aspect was Chalamet's voice and capturing the different ways he delivered those performances. Maitland explained, "Bob's a mutterer, and Timmy gave his best mutter, so it was pulling that out. He would go from there to that twangy, tough voice that could shrill your eardrums. But there were like 4 different voices inside of Timmy, capturing all those and giving them all characters was a whole other dimension." Supervising music director Ted Kaplan noted that while the film didn't show full performances or full song moments, every single one was recorded from top to tail. Even the film's climactic Newport Folk Festival 1965, which saw Dylan take his electric guitar public, much to the audience's chagrin, was recorded. That was recorded as a full concert. From the Hammer song to Baby Blue, it was one run, said Kaplan, explaining that rather than do take after take of each song, the concerts were done as single straight runs. I think it gave it a special live real magic, he added. You can see Timmy is so into it and so in the mindset of it.